Hello, my name is Tomasz Starczewski, and today I want to share with you my recovery story from protracted withdrawal from antidepressants.
Why did you start taking medication at the first place?
When I was studying cognitive neuroscience, during the classes from psychiatry, our professor was talking about chemical imbalance theory, and he was mentioning that selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors are restoring the chemical imbalance. Back then, it all made sense to me, and I thought I would give it a shot because of my anxiety that I had back then. I scheduled an appointment with him, and after a quick consultation, he prescribed me sertraline.
How did you feel on the medication?
After a month, when the drugs start working, after the adaptation phase, I suddenly become numb. I stopped worrying about things that bothered me before I started taking the drug. My racing thoughts in my mind, they just simply stop. I had a blank mind, but back then I was happy about it. I didn't care about mostly anything, but on the other hand, I was also very happy and optimistic because it was something new that I didn't care about social situations, about other events that were stressing for me back then. My friends and family noticed that I was a little bit odd, but I also didn't care about it. And I thought that this is how it's supposed to be, that people shouldn't worry about stuff, and that normal people actually function like that. So I thought that it was normal and that my brain chemistry has been restored. So,
What side effects did you experience?
when I was taking the drug, I was sweating a lot. I had decreased libido, and I was very sleepy when I was on the meds. I believe I also had some sort of jaw tension, muscle tension, but all of the side effects were not so much noticeable. I simply didn't care. I was very uplifted on the meds, so I wasn't worrying at all about the side effects, and I was just thinking that they will go away when I discontinue the medication.
What made you decide to stop taking the medication?
My girlfriend noticed that I became less interested in sex and less romantic, and I didn't care that much about her as I used to. And I wasn't actually noticing that, but since she was very worried about our relationship and my affection for her, I decided to quit the meds.
What happened after you stopped taking it?
So at first, when I quit sertraline, I had acute withdrawal. I couldn't sleep. I had panic attacks, some sort of anxiety that I didn't experience ever before. But it went away within a few weeks. And then, after a few months post discontinuation, I slowly lost interest in basically in life. I couldn't feel any emotion, either positive or negative. I couldn't. My whole body became numb. The sensation on my skin, on my whole body, was muted, especially in genitals. My genitals became numb. My sex drive went away. I couldn't participate in sexual activities. I couldn't enjoy watching a movie, reading a book, socializing. I had difficulties speaking. My verbal fluency was severely impacted. I withdrew from friends and family. I became very aggressive uh, in a way that I never experienced before, because I could become very angry and impulsive in without a reason. And right now I know it's called neuro emotions, but back then it was something very bizarre for me. My anhedonia was at one point was so severe I couldn't work because I couldn't pay attention to tasks that I have been given. I couldn't participate in daily activities. I became very lethargic and sleepy. I became food intolerant. I couldn't enjoy food, couldn't tolerate food as I used to. My tolerance to physical activity was very disrupted. I stopped sweating. I didn't produce sweat. My vision became blurred and impacted. I couldn't focus my vision when I was looking at some point. I was suicidal to the point when I had one attempt, and I was ruminating all day long in my head that it's gonna be like this forever, that there is no point of continue. And I was convinced that I was right, and the inner dialogue was pretty much dead beside the one thought of ending this suffering. When I was in this severe state of suicidal thoughts, I decided to go back to doctor.
How did the doctor react?
When I told him about the symptoms that I was experiencing, he told me that it's recurring depression, recurring anxiety. But when I mentioned that I didn't experience symptoms ever before, like the genital numbness, the anhedonia, the loss of emotions, he told me that it's all in my head, and he advised me to reinstate the drug.
What happened after reinstate?
When I reinstated the sertraline, the only thing that went away was actually suicidal thoughts. My sexual symptoms got worse, and possibly my anhedonia was a little bit better, but not that much. And then I realized that reinstating the drug wasn't an option, and I started to searching for answers online. Then I found surviving antidepressants and learned about protracted withdrawal and PSSD, and realized that the only way to go is to quit the meds and go through the withdrawal process and hopefully heal from the meds. So I decided to quit them once again and survive this state.
Did you have any support?
During the withdrawal process, I was a very difficult person to be with. The only real support was internet forum, surviving antidepressants, and a Facebook group with people like me who were in the withdrawal process. Even there, I was very skeptical, very pessimistic, aggressive. I was kicked out from the community because I was skeptical about recovery. And from here, I want to apologize everyone who got offended by me back then, because I was called the doom guy in the community. But yeah, actually it was my only support back then. Other people who were suffering from protracted withdrawal and PSSD.
What did your recovery process look like?
After second discontinuation, I started experiencing withdrawal symptoms, protracted withdrawal symptoms. They got even more severe after second discontinuation attempt. First 2 or 3 years. In the first 2 or 3 years, I was incapable of functioning. I was bedridden. I couldn't go to work. I was mostly at that time reading success stories online that were giving me a hope that it will get better. After that period, I began to adapting. I didn't improve, but I began to adapting to the situation. I was forcing myself to participate in social events, forcing myself to physical activity, and even though I didn't feel any pleasure response from such activities, I just didn't care, but I was doing this anyway. And from every activity, I was actually crashing.
How long did the recovery last?
In my case, the recovery process lasted 6 years, but only after 4 years, I started to noticing real improvements. The first 4 years, I was flat and there were no signs of recovery whatsoever. Then I started to experiencing wave and windows pattern, and it felt like I was swimming up to the surface of protracted withdrawal, and my emotions, my drive, my cognitive ability became stronger and stronger to the point when it stopped bothering me and I could participate in daily life activities.
What helped you the most?
So I do believe that time had the biggest impact on my recovery, but on the other hand, I also started to implementing lifestyle changes around 4 years out of the recovery. I went into ketosis. I was on the carnivore diet for a few months. I also started to working out. Cardiovascular activities and strength training had a great impact on my recovery. So combining all those factors made me more stable, more focused, and my mood has lifted. I also tried a lot of supplements, but they didn't had much impact on my recovery. There are a few of them that were helpful, but I believe staying away from any supplements is the best way to go, not to interfere with a nervous system that is very fragile during the recovery process. So I won't recommend taking any of them.
What hindered you in the recovery process?
So I think that things that impacted my recovery process in a negative way were any psychoactive substances, including alcohol, supplements, weed. When I realized that I became destabilized after taking even small amount of alcohol, for instance, or some random supplement that were interfering with my brain chemistry, I decided to give up on any psychoactives. And when I did so, I became more stable and my recovery process seemed to speed up.
How is your life now?
So currently, I'm in a pretty good shape, both physically and mentally. I'm in a happy relationship, and I also work in an IT company as a manager, and I'm enjoying life once again, trying to stay as close to the nature as I can be. It's very helpful for me. I discovered new things about myself and I regain empathy. I have new perspective for life and for other people that are suffering from different conditions. And the whole experience of protracted withdrawal taught me a lot about myself, and I do believe I'm stronger than I could ever been without this experience.
What do you offer to people who come to you for help?
Recovering from protracted withdrawal and PSSD was the most challenging thing that I experienced so far, and I know exactly what you're going through, and the biggest, most important thing not to give up is to have hope that this is not permanent, that you will get better, and to have psychological support during the process. I also share what helped me and what had a bad impact on my recovery. I try to look holistically at every one of you that I'm working with, and also suggesting lifestyle changes that had great impact on my recovery, believing that it will help you as well. I'm also preparing tasks that you need to fulfill from one appointment to another, to be focused on the recovery process and not to ruminate about your suffering.
What are your qualifications?
I'm a cognitive neuroscientist. I also studied neurobiology at Salesian Medical University. However, I based my knowledge from my experience from protracted withdrawal and PSSD. I also graduated psychotraumatology course to better understand what people with trauma are going through and how the recovery process looks like.
What is your biggest advice to people who are going through protracted withdrawal.
So I only have one advice, to keep in mind that this condition is not permanent. It's quite irony that I am advising others to keep this in mind, while for many years I was posting everywhere that this is permanent and people do not recover. Well, I was wrong. People do recover. The damage is not permanent. It doesn't matter if you take one drug, many drugs, for a month or 5 years. In the end, everyone will improve and eventually recover. But it takes time, and sometimes it takes a lot of time, but it's totally worth it. And never consider ending this as an option, because there is no coming back if you do this. So it's not permanent, and my story is a proof of that.